Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today, we're diving into a small but surprisingly interesting piece of American coinage, the 1994 D. Roosevelt dime. At first glance, it might look like your everyday pocket change, but as any seasoned numismatist knows, there's often more than meets the eye. In this video, we're going to explore the full story behind the 1994 D. Roosevelt dime, its fascinating history, key details you need to know, what makes it valuable, and of course, how much it might be worth on today's collector market. Let's start with a bit of background. The Roosevelt dime has been a staple of American currency since 1946, introduced just after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It was created to honor the man who led the nation through the Great Depression and most of World War II. His image replaced the Mercury dime, and since then, the design has remained largely unchanged. On the obverse or head side, we see Roosevelt's profile, while the reverse features a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, representing liberty, peace, and strength. Now fast forward to 1994, a year that saw millions of Roosevelt dimes minted across two main facilities. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced coins without a mint mark for circulation, and the Denver Mint, which used the letter D to indicate its origin. Our focus today is on the Denver minted 1994 D. Roosevelt dime. So how many of these were made? The answer is over 1.2 billion, yes, billion with a B, specifically around 1,278,000,000 dimes struck at the Denver Mint. With such a high mintage number, it's easy to assume that the 1994 D dime would be common and not very valuable. And for the average circulated example, that assumption would be mostly right. Most 1994 D dimes in everyday condition are worth face value, just 10 cents. But, and this is a big but, the story doesn't end there. Let's get into what makes certain 1994 D. Roosevelt dimes potentially valuable. First, there's the matter of condition. Like with all coins, the state of preservation plays a massive role in its value. A 1994 D dime in uncirculated condition, that means never used in transactions and still showing its original luster, can be worth more than face value. In lower uncirculated grades like MS60 to MS63, these coins are typically worth around $1 or $2. But as you move up the grading scale, things get more interesting. In higher mint state grades such as MS66 or MS67, prices can rise significantly. For example, a certified MS67 specimen, that's near perfect, can sell for $20 or more. Even higher grades, if they exist, might fetch $50, $100, or even more, depending on market demand and rarity in that grade. Now, let's talk about something that really excites collectors: errors and varieties. While most 1994 D dimes are standard, there are rare error coins that command big premiums. For example, off-center strikes, double dies, or coins struck on the wrong planchet, like a penny planchet, can all be worth a lot of money. These errors are rare and must be authenticated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. A verified error coin from this date could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the type and severity of the error. One famous example is the double die obverse, where the lettering appears slightly doubled due to a misalignment during minting. These coins are uncommon but highly sought after. Next, let's look at current market trends and auction records. As of today, in 2025, the highest recorded price for a 1994 D. Roosevelt dime came at auction for a coin graded MS68 with full torch details, also known as full bands. That means the horizontal lines on the torch are sharply defined and completely struck, something that's difficult to find in modern dimes. That single coin sold for over $400 at a major auction house. This shows that with the right combination of condition and rarity, even a coin that was once just 10 cents can become a serious collector's item. So how do you know if your 1994 D dime is worth anything? Start by looking at the overall appearance. Is it worn down and dull? Then it's probably only worth face value. But if it looks crisp, shiny, and uncirculated, it might be worth a closer look. Use a magnifier to inspect the coin. Look at the torch on the reverse. Do you see clear horizontal bands? That's a good sign. Check for any doubling in the letters or numbers. Look for off-center designs, odd shapes, or unusual colorations. If you think you've got something special, consider sending it to a third-party grading company for professional evaluation. Let's also touch briefly on silver content, because that's a common question. Unfortunately, the 1994 D Roosevelt dime does not contain any silver. All circulating dimes made after 1964 are composed of a copper-nickel clad composition. So unlike older silver dimes, the intrinsic metal value here is minimal. That means the collectible premium is entirely based on condition, rarity, and demand, not the metal content. So let's recap. The 1994 D Roosevelt dime is a high-mintage coin that most people overlook. In circulated condition, it's worth face value. But in top mint state grades, especially MS67 and above, it can be worth $20 to $100 or more. Rare era varieties can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And coins with full torch or full band details are especially valuable to collectors. While it's not made of silver, it can still hold real numismatic value if you find the right one. If you have a handful of dimes sitting around, especially those from the 90s, take a second look. You never know, you might be holding a rare gem worth far more than 10 cents. We're diving into one of the smallest coins in your pocket that might just carry big value, the 2003 D Roosevelt dime. You heard that right. A simple dime struck in Denver in the year 2003 might be worth more than 10 cents. In fact, some rare versions of this coin have been auctioned off for much more than their face value. But what makes them special? What should you look for? And how can you tell if your 2003 D dime is worth big money? Stay tuned because we're about to uncover the full story behind this coin's history, its current value, and the top reasons collectors are paying serious cash for it. The history of the Roosevelt dime. Let's start with the basics. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, replacing the Mercury dime. It was created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who died in 1945. The design was completed by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the United States Mint. Roosevelt was chosen to appear on the dime partly due to his role in founding the March of Dimes, an organization created to fight polio, the disease that had paralyzed him. Since then, the Roosevelt dime has remained largely unchanged in design. It features the portrait of Roosevelt on the obverse, or front side, and on the reverse, you'll see a torch in the center with an olive branch on the left and an oak branch on the right. These symbols represent liberty, peace, and strength. For decades, the Roosevelt dime has been a staple in American pockets, cash drawers, and coin rolls, but once in a while, a particular year and mint mark combination catches the eye of collectors. About the 2003 D Roosevelt dime. Now let's focus on the year 2003. Specifically, the dime minted in Denver, designated by the letter D just to the right of Roosevelt's neck. In that year, the Denver Mint produced over 446 million Roosevelt dimes. That's a huge number, and usually, coins with such a high mintage are not rare. However, when it comes to coins, it's not just about how many were made. It's about how many survived in high condition, and whether any error coins were created during production. What makes some 2003 D dimes valuable? So, why would a 2003 D Roosevelt dime be worth more than its face value? There are a few key factors to consider. First is condition. Most dimes that pass through circulation get scratched, nicked, and worn down. But a 2003 D dime in mint state, meaning it has never been circulated and has no visible wear, can be worth far more than 10 cents. In fact, dimes graded MS67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can sell for several dollars, and in rare cases even more. Second is the presence of error coins. These are dimes that left the mint with mistakes. That might include off-center strikes, double dies, missing clad layers, or coins that were struck on the wrong metal planchet. For example, a dime with a visible doubling of the letters or numbers can fetch a strong premium. A 2003 D Roosevelt dime with a partial collar error or off-metal strike can be highly valuable depending on the severity and rarity of the error. Third is collector demand. While the 2003 D dime isn't considered a key date, certain collectors aim to complete high-grade Roosevelt dime sets, including every year and mint mark in the best condition they can find. That pushes the price higher for the best examples of this coin. Market value of the 2003 D dime. Let's talk current market value. As of now, the average circulated 2003 D Roosevelt dime is still worth just its face value of 10 cents. But if you have an uncirculated coin, it can range in value. Coins graded MS65 are typically worth $1 to $3, coins graded MS66 can bring $5 to $10, coins in MS67 condition may sell for $15 to $20 or more depending on demand and appeal. The record price paid for a 2003 D Roosevelt dime was around $75 for an MS68 example sold at auction. Error coins can go even higher. A 2003 D dime with a significant off-center error sold for over $100. Missing clad layer examples have reached similar prices. And some rare mint errors have gone as high as $200 or more. How to check if you have a valuable dime? So how do you know if you have one of these valuable coins? First, pull out a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe and examine the coin closely. Check the edges, look at the date and mint mark, and inspect both sides for unusual features or signs of doubling. If your coin looks unusual or appears flawless, consider submitting it to a professional grading service. Getting your coin graded can give it official recognition and significantly increase its resale value. Also check for luster. A coin with strong shine and no signs of handling will typically be worth more. Pay attention to strike quality too. Coins that show full details in Roosevelt's hair and torch flames on the back are more desirable, and always compare your coin with high-resolution images from trusted sources like PCGS, NGC, or major coin auction houses to see how your dime stacks up. Final thoughts. So, while most 2003 D Roosevelt dimes are common and worth just 10 cents, a few special ones are worth much more. Whether it's due to pristine condition, a rare mint error, or high demand from collectors, these tiny coins can pack a surprising punch. It's always worth taking a second look before tossing your change in a jar or spending it. Who knows, your next valuable coin could be hiding in plain sight. We dive deep into a coin that most people ignore, but some collectors treasure: the 2004 P Roosevelt dime. This small 10-cent piece might seem like pocket change to many, but hidden among its millions are rare examples worth far more than face value, and in some cases these dimes can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their condition, rarity, and certain types of errors. So stay with us as we go through everything you need to know about the 2004 Roosevelt dime minted in Philadelphia, why it's worth looking out for, and how much it might fetch on today's market. Let's begin with a little background. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, was a pivotal leader who served during the Great Depression and most of World War II. After his death in 1945, he was honored by appearing on the dime starting in 1946, replacing the Mercury dime. His image on the dime represents his efforts in founding the March of Dimes to fight polio, a disease that he himself battled for most of his life. Fast forward to 2004, the Roosevelt dime continued to be minted largely unchanged, with his left-facing profile on the obverse and the traditional torch oak branch and olive branch on the reverse representing liberty, strength, and peace. In 2004, the Philadelphia Mint produced an astonishing 1,125,500,000 Roosevelt dimes. That's over a billion coins, meaning the majority are incredibly common and will never be worth more than 10 cents. However, and this is where things get interesting, not all dimes are created equal. Within that massive number are examples with rare minting errors that can dramatically increase their value, and that's what coin collectors are hunting for. So what kind of errors make a 2004 P dime worth a lot of money? Let's start with one of the most sought after errors: the double die. Double die error occurs when the coin die used to strike the design onto the coin has been improperly manufactured with a doubled image. This results in visible doubling on the coin's features such as the lettering Roosevelt's eye or even the torch on the reverse. Collectors pay high premiums for strong examples of this error. Even mild doubling can add value, especially if graded by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. Next are off-center strikes. An off-center strike happens when the coin is not properly aligned in the press and part of the design is missing. Depending on how off-center it is and whether the date is still visible, these coins can sell for between $20 and several $100s. If the strike is more than 50% off-center and the date is clear, then the value jumps significantly. Another error to watch for is the no mint mark or missing clad layer. While most 2004 dimes from Philadelphia bear a P mint mark, very few might be struck without it, either due to grease-filled dies or die fatigue, while the P mark is standard. Any missing mint mark on a coin from this year should be inspected by an expert, especially if paired with other unusual features. Coins with missing clad layers where the outer nickel layer was never applied properly appear copper-colored and can command strong prices from error collectors. Some 2004 Roosevelt dimes have been found with die cracks, cut breaks, and other striking anomalies. These can range in value depending on size, location, and severity. A large die break or retained cut on the rim, for example, can make a dime worth $20 to $100 or more based on the eye appeal and rarity of the error. Now let's talk about condition. A coin's condition or grade plays a huge role in its value. Circulated dimes with wear from pocket use will rarely be worth more than face value unless they have an error, but uncirculated examples, especially those graded MS67 or higher by a reputable service, can fetch high prices. High-grade 2004 P dimes in mint state with full bands details, meaning the horizontal lines on the torch are fully visible and well struck, can reach prices between $15 and $100 or more. The record auction price for a 2004 P Roosevelt dime in top condition was several $100s for a pristine specimen with strong details and brilliant luster. But how do you know if your dime is valuable? The first step is to check it under good lighting or with a coin magnifier. Look closely at the lettering, Roosevelt's face, and the reverse torch for signs of doubling. Check if the strike is off-center, if there are any unusual colors or textures or anything that looks unusual compared to a normal dime. Then check the edge. Does it look coppery? If yes, you might have a missing clad layer error. Finally, if you think your coin is unusual or in top condition, it's best to submit it to a grading service or show it to a trusted local coin dealer. As of today's market, which is always changing due to demand, precious metal values, and collector interest, the general price for a regular 2004 P Roosevelt dime in circulated condition remains at 10 cents, but rare errors and mint state examples, especially with strong strikes, can be worth between $10 and $500 or more, particularly if slabbed and authenticated. Auction prices show strong demand for top condition coins and dramatic errors, with many buyers ready to pay premiums for certified examples. To sum it all up, while most 2004 P dimes are extremely common, there are real hidden gems among them that could be sitting in your change jar or piggy bank. Whether it's a double die off-center strike, missing clad layer, or high-grade uncirculated piece, these coins have the potential to be worth far more than just 10 cents. It just takes a careful eye, a little knowledge, and perhaps a bit of luck to find one, and that's what makes coin collecting so exciting. We are diving deep into a modern dime that could be hiding in your pocket change right now, the 2014 P Roosevelt dime. This coin might look ordinary at first glance, but stick around because there's a lot more value behind this small piece of metal than most people realize. First, let's talk about the history of the Roosevelt dime. The Roosevelt dime was first minted in 1946 following the death of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He had passed away in 1945, and due to his legacy as a leader during the Great Depression and World War II and his association with the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio, the U.S. Mint decided to honor him on the 10-cent piece. The design was created by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time, and it has remained mostly unchanged ever since. Now fast forward to the year 2014. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 1 billion Roosevelt dimes that year. That's right, over 1 billion, which means this coin is technically common in terms of mintage, but there's more to the story than just how many were made. While most 2014 P dimes are only worth face value, there are exceptions and special coins that are worth significantly more. So what makes a 2014 P Roosevelt dime worth money? There are a few key factors to look for. First is condition. A coin in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used in daily transactions, will always carry more value than a coin that has been worn down by years of use. A perfect mint state coin can be graded by services like PCGS or NGC on the Sheldon scale, which ranges from 1 to 70. If you find a 2014 P Roosevelt dime graded MS67 or higher, that's where the value really starts to increase. According to recent auction results, a 2014 P Roosevelt dime graded MS68 by PCGS sold for up to $250. Yes, $250 for a modern dime that's over 2,500 times its face value. The key here is rarity and high grade. There are only a handful of coins from that year in such pristine condition, which makes them valuable to collectors looking to complete a perfect modern set. Next up, let's talk about errors and varieties. These are coins that were minted with mistakes or unusual features that make them unique in the world of coin collecting. Errors can be extremely valuable, so what kind of errors should you look for on the 2014 P Roosevelt dime? One possible error is the double die. This happens when the die used to strike the coin has a doubled image, leading to visible doubling on the date. The Lettering or other details. If you have a coin like that, it could be worth hundreds depending on the severity of the doubling. Another type of error is the off-center strike, where the design is not centered correctly on the coin, leaving part of the image cut off. These errors are instantly noticeable and can range from mild to extreme. If the date is still visible and the strike is significantly off-center, the coin could be worth anywhere from $20 to over $100. Also look out for die chips, cuts, and die clashes, which are other types of minting errors. Die chips appear as raised bumps on the coin, often near the mouth, eye, or date area. Cuts are broken pieces of the die that leave blobs or missing portions of design. Die clashes occur when the two dies strike each other without a coin in between, leaving ghost images of one side on the other side of the coin. These are less common, but collectors love to find them, especially on modern coins. Now let's discuss proof versions of the 2014 Roosevelt dime. While these weren't made at the Philadelphia Mint, it's worth noting that the San Francisco Mint produced proof dimes with an S mint mark. These were sold in special sets to collectors, and they feature mirror-like fields and frosted devices. A 2014 S-proof Roosevelt dime in perfect PR70 condition might sell for $10 to $25 depending on the demand. So where does that leave us with current market value? As of now in 2025, most circulated 2014 P Roosevelt dimes are still worth 10 cents. However, uncirculated and error versions are fetching higher and higher prices, especially in online auctions and collector marketplaces. A typical MS65 graded example might sell for $3 to $5, while MS67 and above can climb past $50 to $250 or more if it's a top pop, meaning one of the highest graded examples known. If you're hoping to find one of these valuable dimes in your change, here's what you should do. First, get a good magnifying glass and a coin scale. Start inspecting your pocket change and rolls from the bank. Look for that P mint mark on the obverse just above the date. Then check for sharp details, any unusual marks or doubling. Remember, a small detail could make a huge difference in value. And don't forget to store any potential finds safely. Use coin flips or holders to protect them from wear, and always consider having high quality coins professionally graded. It might cost a bit up front, but the value you could unlock on the resale market can be worth it. So is the 2014 P Roosevelt dime worth more than 10 cents? The answer is yes, for the right coin with high-grade mint state examples and rare errors commanding premiums. This dime is definitely worth a closer look. We are exploring a coin that many people overlook every single day. It is small. It is shiny. And it might be hiding in your pocket change right now. We are talking about the 2015 D Roosevelt dime. That is right. Just a regular-looking 10-cent coin. But some of these are worth more than face value. Some are even worth a lot of money. So what makes the 2015 D Roosevelt dime special? What are the key features that collectors look for? How much can it really be worth? And what are the current market trends as of today? All those questions will be answered. So make sure you watch until the end. You might just discover a small fortune. Part 1. History of the Roosevelt dime. Let us begin with a bit of history. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946. It replaced the Mercury dime and was designed to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Roosevelt had passed away in 1945. He was an iconic figure who led the United States through the Great Depression and World War II. But more importantly for the dime itself, Roosevelt was closely associated with the March of Dimes campaign. That effort raised funds to combat polio, a disease he himself battled. So it made sense to place his image on the 10-cent piece. The design was created by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. And although the design has had some minor updates over the years, the Roosevelt dime has remained essentially the same for decades. Part 2. Specifics of the 2015 D Roosevelt dime. Fast forward to 2015. The Roosevelt dime was still in full production. That year, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of them. If you flip over your dime and look at the side with the torch, olive branch, and oak branch, you will see a small letter D. That means it was minted in Denver. Now here is where it gets interesting. Despite being a very common year, some of the 2015 D Roosevelt dimes have characteristics that make them worth far more than 10 cents. These include high-grade uncirculated coins, coins with mint errors, and coins with special varieties. Part 3. Mint errors and varieties. Let us talk about errors. Mint errors can dramatically increase the value of any coin, even a modern dime. Some of the 2015 D-dimes have been found with off-center strikes. That means the coin was not properly aligned when it was stamped. Others show doubling on the lettering or torch design. This is known as a double die variety. Some collectors have even discovered dimes from 2015 with die cracks, die chips, or missing clad layers. A missing clad layer exposes the inner copper and gives the coin a very distinct look. These types of errors are rare but highly collectible. Then there are coins with rotated dies. Imagine flipping a coin and the front and back are not perfectly aligned. That type of error can also increase value. If you have a 2015 D dime with one of these characteristics, you could be holding something special. Part 4, high-grade value. But even without errors, a regular 2015 D Roosevelt dime can still be worth more if it is in pristine condition. We are talking about coins that are in mint state condition. These are coins that have never been circulated. They look brand new. No scratches. No wear. Just a perfect shiny finish. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin that is graded MS 67 or higher becomes very desirable to collectors. MS stands for mint state. The higher the number, the better the condition. Some MS 67 2015 D Roosevelt dimes have sold for over $15. In MS 68, which is an even higher grade, the price can climb to $30 or more. And if somehow you have an MS 69 or a perfect MS 70, the value could be significantly higher, depending on demand. Now remember, these values are for professionally graded coins. If you think you have a high-grade dime, it might be worth sending it to a grading company like PCGS or NGC for certification. Part 5, current market value in 2025. Let us take a look at the market value right now in mid-2025. Circulated examples of the 2015 D Roosevelt dime are still worth face value 10 cents. But error coins are selling anywhere from $5 to over $100, depending on the type and severity of the error. High-grade MS 67 coins are consistently selling between $12 and $20 online. MS 68 coins are reaching up to $50 on auction sites. And certified errors with extreme off-center strikes or missing clad layers can go for over $200 to specialized collectors. Demand for modern mint errors has actually increased over the last year. More collectors are turning their attention to modern coinage. That means prices could rise even more. Part 6, what to look for. So what should you look for in your 2015 D Roosevelt dimes? First, check for any visual signs of an error. Look at the lettering. Is anything doubled? Look at the torch. Does the coin seem off-center or unusually shaped? Second, check the coin's condition. If it looks absolutely flawless, put it aside. It might be worth grading. Third, check the alignment between front and back. If it feels rotated, that is another error sign. Lastly, use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to check details. Even a small die crack or chip can turn a common dime into a collector's item. Part 7, final TGHTS. To wrap things up, the 2015 D Roosevelt dime might seem like just another coin in your change jar. But it has a story, a history, and a hidden value waiting to be discovered. Whether you are hunting for errors or saving high-grade examples, this little coin is a great entry point into the world of coin collecting. So next time you get a dime in your hand, take a closer look. Who knows? That 10-cent piece might just be worth a whole lot more. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more rare coin finds and market updates. Leave a comment below if you have a 2015 D Roosevelt dime and tell us what you have found. Keep hunting. Keep collecting. And until next time, happy treasure hunting.